Hello, this is the bonus video for the Introduction to Coding Web Games using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript series. By the time you reach this video, you should have already coded a playable game and successfully gotten it onto the internet. Now I wanted to show you just a few more details you can add to make your game more enjoyable, like sounds, or maybe an arcade style button. And since this is a bonus video, I'll show you how to add a bonus to your game. All code and the sprite sheet used in this video and the game we've coded are available for download at the links provided below. So let's get started. If you'll recall, we had a working game that looked very nice and worked very smoothly, but didn't make very much sound. Plus this button is just a standard HTML button. So let's change that. I like the classic arcade button. So up here where you've put start, we're going to do something called nesting divs. So before start, open a div tag, and right after start, close a div tag. Now you've kept start in the middle. It is still the inner HTML because it's inside the nested tag. So give this div tag an ID of, we're going to call this inner button, capital B, and make sure that is within the opening tag. Now we're going to do that again. So at the front of start, you open a div tag, and at the end of start, you close a div tag. And then within the opening div tag, give this one an ID of button text. What you've done is you've nested some div tags within each other, and you've kept start as the inner HTML, and you've given them both IDs. Now we need to go and give them some CSS. Okay, so to have a nice big arcade button, first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the button bigger. So we make its width 75 pixels is a nice number. Height 75 pixels, and if you make the height same as the width, it makes it a square. So now we have a square. The border radius will take the edges of that square and it'll round them off. And if you give border radius a value of 50%, it rounds them off all the way till it's a circle. So now you have a circle. We're going to set a background, so we have to do the standard background repeat colon no repeat. And I accidentally put repeat here. I meant to put no repeat. Just give me one sec. So that it doesn't repeat the background we're about to give it. Then we also have to tell it size, so background size dash size, and that's going to be cover. Now we can give it a background colon, and we want it to be a linear gradient this time, so linear dash gradient, don't forget the dash, all lowercase, parentheses, semicolon. In the parentheses, we just have to pass it some colors, and I like red buttons, so we're going to do red, comma, and then a darker red, which is maroon. So red, comma, maroon. Okay. Now, we're going to take the border that is naturally set on there off. So say border unset. We also want to give it a box shadow so that it looks like it's kind of sitting above our canvas or our background. So say box dash shadow, just like this, colon, and say 0 pixels, 0 pixel. That's your X and your Y offset. So we're not having it offset at all. And then your fuzziness, your blurriness, so 5 pixel blurriness, and then your color. Now we want to tell the font weight, so font weight, we want to give it a value of 800, because remember that's how I set things to bold. Pardon me. Now we can go and give that inner button some HTML. Remember it's an ID, so it gets a hashtag. So hashtag inner button, open close curly braces, and in those curly braces, we're going to do a lot of the same for the start button. Oof. Sorry, this is a bad habit of mine. I hit an S. Position. So we're going to give it a position of relative. It needs to have a left. And just believe me, okay, so the reason we're using percentages here, and 12.5% specifically, is because the inner button is going to be, its width is going to be based on the outer button, and it's going to be based on a percentage. So we're going to say the width is 80% of the outer, the button that we're nested within, and then the height is only going to be 70% of the button that we're nested within. So it's just going to be even smaller than the button itself. We still need to give it a border radius of 50%, so it is also a circle. So now we have a smaller circle within the bigger circle that is only 80% its height, its width, and 70% its height. Give it the same background, so just copy paste the background except flip the colors around. So now the colors are going the opposite directions, from maroon to red. Okay. So in between here, I did it in between here so y'all could see better. You could put this wherever, really. But in between there, I put hashtag button text. And now I'm going to set some CSS to that very, very middle div. And first I'm going to tell it I want its font size to be 14 pixels. So that means the font is now 14 pixels tall. And this is important in a second. Remember this. All the letters are going to now be 14 pixels tall. I also give it a position, and you see my bad habit there. Yep. This one's going to be relative. I am giving it a top, but I like to do it on the next line. It doesn't matter if you do it inline. You could also do that. I just like it on the next line. Okay, so since this is text, it's weird. It's like a rectangle. So if I just put it at 50%, that would put the top of it down in the middle of my button, and then the rest of it would be down there. So I'd have to come back half the height, just like a rectangle, of 7 pixels, which is half of 14 pixels. But in CSS, it doesn't know how to do this. It doesn't know what 50% minus 7 pixels is unless you tell it calc, as in calculate what 50% minus 7 pixels is, and then set that as my top. So do it just like this, like you see here. And that'll put our text in the middle of our button. We need to come back 1 pixel on the left, so that's a -1. So left colon -1 pixel. Just believe me when I say we need to come back 1 pixel on the left. Now, if I've done everything correctly, this regular old start button should now look like a arcade button. But the action on it still doesn't work. We take out the entire inner HTML of the button when we click it. So see, it takes out that center button. So we need to fix that, and we're going to kind of completely rearrange what happens when you click that button. So what we're going to do first is down here where you add the event listener, the click event listener. First, let's grab that inner text so that we can set it and change it by itself. So copy paste that, but everywhere it says start button, erase that and put button text. Okay, so now we're just grabbing this inner div right here. Not the whole thing, just the inside of it. Also, so copy the start button, add event listener, copy and paste that 2 more times so that you have 3 of them. 3, like that. But it's not going to be click. This top one, erase click, and this one's going to be called a mouse up. We're going to be listening for an event called mouse up, or excuse me, pardon me, mouse down. And this one is mouse up. And then the very bottom one is what they call mouse out. And that one's a little important. Don't forget that one either. But not as important as mouse down and mouse up. Okay, so for mouse down, we're not calling start game. We want to call a function called button down, which we will write here in a moment. And then these two are going to have the same. They're going to both call button up. Meaning, now this means mouse down and mouse up means somebody has pressed a mouse clicker down, and then mouse up means they have let the clicker go, and the mouse out means that they have taken the mouse off of whatever element you were on to begin with. So let's write these button up and button down functions. This will become more clear in a moment what we're doing. So first write function button down, just like you spelled it before, down there. This is an event listener, so it can take an event. Remember, you can take an event as a parameter, and we need it because first we need to call event.prevent default. Always got to do that. Then we're going to do a few things with our start button. So we call the start button, and we're going to change the style on it, and we're going to bring the width. So start button.style.width equals. This is how you change style in JavaScript. And we're going to bring that down 5 pixels. So now, instead of being 75, it's just going to be 70. And you do the same for the height. So you can just copy paste. And you bring the style, the width and the height down to 70 pixels. Then you bring the left. You got to make that, I believe it's -223 pixels. Because since we are changing the width and the height by 5, we need to move it over on its x-axis by half of that. And we need to bring it down, so change the top. We need to bring it down from 60 down half, almost half of 5, which is like 2.5, but we're just going to bring it down 2, so negative 58. So now that'll have the effect of every time we press the button, it'll look like it is being depressed into the background. And to hammer that home, first let's give it a box shadow, or let's take the box shadow and set it to unset. And make sure you spell it like exactly like I do here. No dashes, no nothing. It's B-O-X, capital S-H-A-D-O-W. Set it to unset. And then the font size, bring that down by 1. And again, no dash. And make sure you have a capital for the S. So from 14, it'll go to 13 pixels. Now, this gives it the impression, when you take the shadow away and you move the font size, it looks like the button's slightly moving away from you. And when the button goes away, when the shadow goes away, it looks like you're pushing it down into something. So now we're going to write function button up. So write, just like I did there, function button up event in the parentheses and then open close curly braces. Just copy paste everything that was in button down, except now we're setting it back. So 70 goes to 75, 223 goes to 225, 58 goes back to 60. Unset, we set that back to what we had it before. So if you can recall, it was 0 pixels on the x-axis, 0 pixels on the y-axis, 5 pixels of blurriness, color of black. And then this was 14. So if I've done this correctly, every time I press the button down, it will get a little bit smaller, but it moves over on its X and Y axis. Oh, I have not done it correctly. This cannot be start button. This needs to be button text. Please forgive me. Please change it to what you see here. Okay. Now mouse out's important because usually when we lift the button up, we want to call a function like, pause or start or something like that, like start game when it's start. But we don't want to do that if you've pressed the button down and then moved off of it. If you've moved the mouse off of the button, we don't want you to call start game. So we're going to put a little logic here. And we're going to say if the event.type is triple equal to mouse up, that's when you want to call start game. Or actually, you need to check to see if it's start or pause first. So a little bit more logic. So in another if statement, say if button text dot enter HTML is triple equal to start, capital S, T, capital T, capital A, capital R, capital T, then you want to do something, and what you want to do is call start game with your parentheses and semicolon. If it doesn't say start, then obviously it says pause, because that's the only other thing it can say. So else, you want to pause the game. And then you also want to do your set start, and this is going to make sense in a minute why we call this, because we're going to change what set start does, and it's no longer going to change the click, the event listeners. We're actually going to get rid of those. So go all the way up here, and this is me trying to find the pause game. So find your pause game function. Apparently I was doing something, I guess. If you don't notice, I record myself writing all this out, and then I voice over. Okay, here's pause game. So you can cancel set start, and I do that so that y'all don't hear the clickety clack of my keyboard. Okay, also line 94, 95, 96 here. This start button, all this can be commented out. Notice I'm using the multi-line commenter, the / asterisk, and at the end of my comment I put asterisk / and that comments the entire thing out. Okay, so then now in set start, you can take these two lines out. We also don't want to do anything with the click listener. Just take all the click listener stuff out. And we don't want to just call start. Here's where we want to say if it's not equal, so if button.text.innerHTML is not equal to start, then that's when you want to call this. And actually, you don't want to call start button.innerHTML. You want to call button text.innerHTML. But I'll realize that just before I go check. So go ahead and write this, but where it says start button, put button text. All right, so if it's not start, set it to start. If it is, you want to set it to pause. And then here's where I'm realizing not start button, but button text, because we changed it. Okay. Now, if I've done everything correctly, which I think I have, it should now look like you press the button down. Every time you click it, it will depress and repress and then change and all that. Look at that. Now you have an arcade button. So let's show you how to like add sounds to the game and everything. The first thing we're going to do is import a pre-typed file. You can get it at the link. I have to go, I'm getting it now from where I have it stashed, but there's going to be a link below for all of the files that you can get, that you need, all of the completed code. And this file that I'm getting right now will be there. So copy it or download it from that link and then put it in your root directory. We get to see all my inner workings here. Okay, so the file here is called sounds.js. So go to the link, find sounds.js, and either copy it or download it, somehow get a hold of it, and put it in your root directory. And if you recall, mine was called YouTube tutorial. So in here is my root directory. So I copy it into there. Now I have sounds.js in there. Now you need to actually include it in your program. So in your index.html, where you included your other JavaScript right here, above that, so copy paste or copy this, but paste above it. You want this to be above YouTube tutorial.js. And now instead of YouTube tutorial.js, take this out and write sounds, S-O-U-N-D-S. And now that you have YouTube tutorial.js underneath sounds, you can use all the functions in sounds within the other one. So let me show you these functions. I'm gonna need the names of them. So let me open this up. So all this you can now use it. All these functions, countdown, explosion sound, bonus sound, coin sound, buzzer, you can now use them in your YouTube tutorial.js because you're above it. If YouTube tutorial.js was above sounds, you could not use sounds in YouTube tutorial.js. Okay, make sure it's I cannot stress enough, make sure you put it above there. So now go and grab one of those sounds. I think the first one I look for is the fire or the shoot sound. So up here somewhere in your sounds.js file, once you've opened it up, find shoot sound, or actually you don't even have to open it up, you can just write shoot sound. But notice it is capital S on sound. So in YouTube tutorial.js, where you shoot, right here in your shoot function, first thing you do is call that shoot sound function. Spell it just like you spell it there. Now there's one called explosion sound. I'm just copying the name. That's all you need to copy. You don't even need to copy it. You can just type it. So over here where you destroy your hero and where you destroy your alien, first thing you do is you call that explosion sound function, semicolon. And then here too. Oops. Explosion sound. And it'll call the function from that other JavaScript page so long as you put it above YouTube tutorial.js. It will be calling the functions from the other page. Now I know you can't hear this, so I'm going to insert a video of myself playing this where you can hear it, and I'm going to do that right after I finish playing this game. So I'm checking it and I can hear, but you can't. But I will put that video in now. And we're back from the video, I think. Okay. So, since this is a bonus video, and I want to be nice and tell you what the heck that... If you've been looking at the sprite sheet at all while you've been coding, you notice there's like a weird coin looking thing. Well, it's a coin. But I'm going to cheat. You can find this, again, you can find all this code in the link, at the link. It'll be in the YouTube tutorial.js file though, not untitled 6, but it'll be in a file called YouTube tutorial.js at the link. Copy function.makeCoin and just put it here somewhere. So I put it above make hero. Just copy paste make coin into your YouTube tutorial.js file. And I'm doing it this way because this is a bonus video. I don't want you to really have to type a lot out. Okay, find this code right here. Var random1 equals get random num, and then recur random1. That both of those lines, and those need to go in your start game function. And without going into too much detail, just know that that will give you a number between 1,000 and 10,000, which you're going to pass to a interval. I mean a set timeout function, excuse me. So it'll run anywhere at a random interval between 1 second and 10 seconds. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail. Just know that all this stuff, this is why you need to play around with it anyway, so that you can get to know all this good code. Okay, I couldn't find start game. Here we go. In start game, underneath timer interval, but still within start game, you're going to want to put that code that I just copied. So you can just type this in there. You don't have to if you can't find it, just type it right there. Var random num equals get random num, parentheses 9,000 plus 1,000, and then recur random num1. And just know that this will give you a number between 0. If I took the 1,000 away, it would give you a number between 0 up to, but not including 9,000. So then if you add 1,000 to that, now it's giving you a number between 1,000 and 10,000, but not including 10,000. Okay, now this recur function, copy that and just put it right there, right above set start. See, this takes a time. That's what you're sending it with the get random. You're sending it a random time between 1 and 10 seconds. And what this is going to do is, if you'll see in the set timeout function that you call, it does something called drop coin. And then it gets another random number between 1 and 10 seconds. And if you're still playing the game, it drops another coin. It keeps calling itself, which is why I call it recur, because it keeps recurring. Now, we haven't written drop coin, so we need to actually write drop coin. But just know that when your game starts, it'll start a random interval and it'll drop a coin sometime between 1 and 10 seconds. And then after it drops that coin, it'll drop another coin between 1 and 10 seconds later. Okay, so I'm double checking, make sure I got everything. And then now I know I need to actually write drop coin. And since we copy and pasted the make coin, which by the way, it was just another make function like all the others. You know, you made an object and you set some stuff, some attributes. So write function drop coin, and then just exactly like the aliens, we want that code. So we're right here where you say attack, copy all that code that's in attack. So that, remember, that makes an alien above the screen. That's what we want to do with the coin, except we're not making an alien, we're making a coin. And an alien is not 60 wide, it is 55 wide, and I happen to know that, so change the 60 to 55. And then it's also only 50 tall. Alright, so now if I've done this correctly, every 1 to 10 seconds it will randomly drop a coin somewhere from above me, and then I gotta go get it. And if you take the time to read inside the make coin function that you copy pasted, you'll see that I also tell it that when it hits me to give me 1,000 points and to take itself out of sprite array. It also has 4 states, and it calls 4 different animation states. Do you see it turning? It looks like it makes it look like it's flipping. Okay, also, I have a coin sound right here. So I was just copying the name to make sure I got it right. And now I messed up and I put it everywhere I make a coin. It makes the sound. So I'm not going to show you that part. I will make a video after I put the make coin sound in there. I'll show you a little video of the coin sound working. But not right now, because right now I'm about to try it out, and it's going to make the sound every time it makes the coin up above the thing. So it like announces itself with a little ding. You know, still cool, but not what I was going for. So yeah, you can't hear it, but it like announced itself before it even came. Every time it makes a coin, it goes ding. So then now that I take this out, and then I put it into the proper places, which is where I, in make coin, in the update, when it tells itself to take itself out of the array right here, that's where you put the coin sound. Okay, so I'm going to play a video of me playing the game with the coin sound on so that you can hear it every time I get a coin. And really, the only things left to say is congratulations on finishing this series. You should now have a pretty good understanding of the web game development of web game development. And I hope you're feeling the same sense of accomplishment that I feel when I finish the program. I had fun making these videos, and I really hope you had fun watching them. And as always, make this code yours, and I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.